And welcome back to well, what is this particular episode is NATE Talks I guess NATE Talks NXT. I screwed that up. I screwed my intro up. I was practicing that and I still screwed it up. NATE Talks NXT. Why is it called that tonight? Well, because I'm here by my lonesome. It's just me. So you guys get to talk to me tonight. If you would like to be a part of the show, you can see this ticker down at the bottom of the screen here. Want to be a part of the show? Click the link in the description to join me live. The link can also be found on my live report on PWTorch.com. I filled in for Kelly tonight, filling out his report. I'm Nate Lindberg. You can check the things that I do out at natelindberg.com. You could follow me on Blue Sky at Nate Lindberg. I don't think I've checked it since I created it, but I have one. I'm joining the Cool Kids Club with the Blue Sky. We're here to talk NXT for December 10th, 2024. And man, we got a little bit to talk about. I mean, there was a lot going on here on the show. Some resets for some of these, some resets for some stories, some continuations, some stories, a couple twists and couple turns here. I'm gonna take a page out of Greg Park's book here tonight. Greg normally runs down the card of whatever show he's talking about on Wrestling Night in America. And since I'm doing a show by myself and Wrestling Night in America sometimes is done solo, I'm just gonna do what Greg does and pretend to be original. We had our opening match tonight was Javon Evans versus Wes Lee, with Evans going over in approximately 13 minutes. Hank and Tank against Tyson and Tyriek. Saw Hank and Tank go over in approximately 6 minutes. We had Gigi, Dolan, and Tatum Paxley versus Jacy, Jayne, and Jazmyn Nix, or as Kelly would say, Jazmyn Nix, with Fallon Henley at their side. 3 minutes and 30 seconds with saw Jazmyn Nix and Jacy, Jayne go over. Ethan Page versus Tony D'Angelo with the family at his side as he defended his North American Championship. 9 minutes saw Tony get a win. Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade versus Giulia and Kelani Jordan was our main event tonight. Giulia and Jordan got the win in approximately 11 minutes. We'll talk all about that and more, but first, let's talk a little bit about, well, actually, before I even talk about anything else, I'm going to say again, if you'd like to join me here tonight, click the link in the description to keep me company. I'd like to talk to somebody during the course of the show, but you don't feel obligated. Sit back and relax and just listen if you want. You could also email us, pwtorchnxt@gmail.com. There we go. There's the email address if you'd like to be part of the show, but you don't want to actually talk to me for some reason. I don't bite, I swear. But, just in case, you can send me an email. I haven't checked the mailbag yet. I'll do that in a little bit. Usually Kevin Catani sends an email. A couple other people might send us an email. We'll see what happens when I get there. Instead of jumping into our main event, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our, I guess, main event segment that happened after the main event. It was a short little segment, but there's a lot to talk about here. There is a lot to talk about. So after the main event match with Perez, Jade, and Giulia and Jordan went off the air, we saw Eddy Thorpe in Ava's office signing the contract for his title match next week at the NXT taping in Lowell, Massachusetts, where, side note, I will be next week. I bought myself a front row ticket. I spent a little extra money. I've never been in the front row to a WWE event before. I've gone indie shows and stuff, paid the instead of $20 for general admission, I paid the $30 for a front row seat for a bunch of different indie events, but decided I did a little okay in the stock market, so I spent a little extra money and I didn't get the VIP package, but I will be sitting front row in the Lowell Memorial Auditorium next week, a very historical building in the wrestling universe, the building that Shawn Michaels lost his smile in. I will be sitting in that building for the taping of NXT Lowell next week. And that is where this match with Eddy Thorpe and Trick Williams will be taking place. Oh, hi, Corbin. Corbin's joining me. At least somebody's joining me. Corbin, hi, bud. Anyway, Eddy Thorpe versus Trick Williams next week at NXT Lowell. We'll see Eddy Thorpe challenge him for the NXT Championship, finally getting a title shot after weeks and weeks and weeks of claiming to be held back and talking about his people being held back and things like that, which is fine. But that's the story they've been telling. And as he's signing tonight, Ava goes, "Oh, hey, by the way, we're still looking into who attacked you." And no sooner does Eddy finish the signature, the ink on the page still is wet, hasn't even had the chance to dry. He closes the portfolio holding the contract, and he says, "Oh, I know who attacked me. I attacked me. I now have my title shot, and I didn't have to go through 25 minutes of hell," referring to the Iron Survivor match, "just to get it." So Eddy Thorpe outsmarting everybody, including me, and I think most of us here, outsmarting Ava and still getting a title shot, even though he didn't have to compete in the Iron Survivor Challenge. I think, like, I mean, in terms of a smart heel, like somebody, I guess, thinking outside the box, if you will, I'm all for it. I think this is great. Like, Eddy Thorpe, he's had a very start and stop type of a push. He came into NXT with a lot of different vignettes and a little bit of hype behind him. Not necessarily something like Giulia or Stephanie Vaquer had, recently, that type of hype, but a little bit of hype with him coming in. Pushed pretty strongly, and then unfortunately he got injured. I think he got injured in his underground match against Dijak, if I'm not mistaken, but he got injured right around that time. I can't remember exactly. He comes back, and he's been kind of on this trajectory as of late where, he hasn't won. He's kind of been, floundering around or whatever. And I don't know if they saw that and turned it into a storyline, or if that was the storyline altogether. But hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I, I I like this. Like I said, it's not often where you see a smart heel kind of pull something off where I don't know, where you don't expect it. A lot of times you can kind of see the turn coming. Like the Festival of Friendship, for example. I don't know why I was talking about the Festival of Friendship with somebody earlier today. So I don't know. That's on the tip of or on the top of my mind here. But in the Festival of Friendship, like that was an amazing story with Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens, and I knew that Kevin Owens was going to turn on Chris Jericho. I knew it was coming, but when it happened, it like hit me. Or the other night with the New Day and the whole Big E thing, and them kept kind of kicking Big E out of the New Day. It's a gut punch. The New Day was one of those teams that I wanted to always be a team, and kind of go down in history like the Legion of Doom or Road Warriors, if you prefer to call them Road Warriors, or something like that. But I don't know. We'll see where they're going with this, with the New Day. But we're not here to talk about the New Day. It was just using them as an example, to talk about the other thing I was talking about. I lost my train of thought, and I don't have somebody here to tell me what I was talking about. So I'm just going to look like an idiot, and I'm going to roll with it. That's fine. But that said, what was I talking about? It was Eddy Thorpe and all of that. Anyway, that said, Eddy Thorpe, he's very smart, and he did something that I didn't expect. All of those things, the Festival of Friendship, them kicking Big E out of the New Day, like I guess I thought about it, like that they might, turn on Big E or something like that. I didn't want it to happen, but the thought did cross my mind. I did not in a million, like I don't think in a million years, well maybe a million years, but at least in like a couple days, I would not be able to sit there and consistently throw out an idea that Eddy Thorpe was the one that attacked himself just to get a title match and kind of manipulate Ava and manipulate everybody else. I don't know if I thought he was capable of it, or what, but I don't know. I know I don't think he was capable of it, and obviously the story. I don't think his story up till this point warranted a title shot. But now he's all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's a little slithering snake. Okay, all right, I can get behind this. Kind of like I wound up getting behind Ridge Holland as he became more of a main event level player in NXT. I still don't want to say he's up there because I don't know. I like what he's doing, and I think he was a great foil for Trick Williams, but I think Ridge still has some room to grow. I don't know how long he's going to stay at the main event level of NXT, or if he'll kind of flounder a little bit down the card, but still remain strong. That's kind of what I'm thinking for Ridge Holland. But anyway, so Eddy Thorpe, I don't think is, or sorry, so I take that back. Eddy Thorpe, I do think it is kind of being built up in the similar vein as Ridge Holland was just being built up. He was somebody that, in Chase University and obviously the Brawling Brutes on the main roster, I didn't think that he was ever going to be main roster material. I think I thought he kind of hit that proverbial glass ceiling, if you will. And then we saw what he could really do down here in NXT, really just over the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 weeks or so, however long it's been since, I guess it's been maybe about 5 or 6 weeks that he's really, he's turned me anyway into a fan of his work. And I'm, interested to see that and where his kind of story progresses. And I think maybe, like I said, that's where they're going with Eddy Thorpe here, and they're kind of taking somebody that has that potential, but hasn't had the opportunity yet to become a main event player. And maybe they're following that same mold by turning him heel, giving him a good reason to talk about why he needed to turn heel, and what his mission statement is, I guess, for the heel turn. So yeah, I'm kind of really excited about all of that. In the chat, thank you, Valentino says so far I'm doing great. I appreciate it. Valentino's trusting the process. I'm assuming trusting the process of me talking to my computer for the next hour or so, however long it is, but I'm going to trust the process too. He also, Valentino also says that he likes it. I'm assuming it was the everything going on with Eddy Thorpe. It's a fresh storyline from a fresh competitor who's been around for a long time, flying under the radar. All right. So with that, I'm going to stall for time because I don't have anybody to throw to real quick while I open the door and let my dog out. Oh, he didn't want to go out. He was whining. Corbin just threw me for a curve on the show. That's fine. I don't mind. Anyway, let me go ahead and also check the mailbag and see if anybody has sent in an email here. We usually have a couple. We have one. We're going to go to our email from Kevin Catani. Kevin says, salutations, gents, but it's just me. So salutations, Nate. I hope this email finds you well. Whew, this show ended with quite a bang, huh? While I'll always believe in Joe Hendry, the more Giulia and Stephanie I can get on my TV, the better. The sample size is small, but I think they're both taking to the WWE style quite well this far. And dare I say, they still have their unique styles too. I fully anticipated Giulia to win the belt at New Year's Evil, and I think the Corey versus Stephanie feud will be a good one. I think the women's division is in a healthy place. What do you think? That does it for me today. Go VIP and listen to NXT 8YB Office Hours Now Over. The Professor, Kevin P. Catani, PhD. P.S. What a smart move by Eddy Thorpe, huh? I know. I just said it was smart. Great minds think alike, Kevin. Great minds think alike. So Yeah, let's talk. So we talked obviously a little bit about Eddy Thorpe, being smart and all of that. I really like that. Let's kind of, I guess, talk. He brings up Giulia, Stephanie. So we'll talk a little bit about our main event match: Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade versus Giulia and Kelani Jordan. As I said a little bit ago, we saw Perez and Jade go over in approximately 11 minutes. 11 minutes on a show that saw 42 minutes ish of wrestling. I did the report tonight. I forgot to time the matches, so I used my DVR to kind of. Well, I realized 2 minute matches in, I forgot to time them. So I guess I could have timed the rest, but whatever. But I used my DVR to approximate the time because that's good enough for government work. So approximately 42 minutes of wrestling here tonight. I thought this was a really good match with Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, Giulia, and Kelani. This came to be because Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez attacked Stephanie Vicker earlier, or sorry, last week. Was it last week? Oh crap! Now I'm second guessing myself. I think it was last week. They attacked her, or a deadline. Yeah, something like that. They attacked her. Oh man, God, I wish somebody was here to correct me. Anyway, they attacked her at some point in the past, and they were looking. Oh, it was tonight. It was tonight because they were coming earlier. God, okay, everything all just came rushing back to me. After they attacked her in kind of one of our opening segments. We saw Sarah Schreiber try to get a word with somebody at WWE or NXT Medical. Kelani Jordan and Giulia were coming out of medical at that time. Sarah Schreiber gives them the mic. Giulia cuts a really impassioned promo. I just wish I knew what she was saying because I don't speak Japanese. So obviously she cut it in Japanese. I'd love it when they do the Japanese promos though, whether it be Giulia, Asuka, Io Sky, Kairi Sane, because they just cut I mean, Japanese can be kind of sometimes like a vicious sounding language with the right, inflections and things like that. And Giulia certainly made it sound that way here tonight. Fired up the fact that Stephanie Vicker got injured at the hands of Cora Jade and in Roxanne Perez. Kelani Jordan grabbed the mic at this point and kind of reiterated what we believe Giulia said in Japanese, that everybody's kind of sick of Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez, and they're looking to get retribution for their friend Stephanie. So that is what wound up making this match here tonight. We ended up seeing Jade and Perez make their entrance first. We saw Jade and Perez make their entrance first, followed by Giulia. Giulia winds up getting attacked by Jade and Perez as she barely left Gorilla at this point. Jade and Perez, like so I said, they wind up attacking her. Kelani Jordan comes out from the back to make the save. And we had a bit of a scuffle before the match even began. They were probably fighting for maybe about, I don't know, somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute, give or take, before the bell finally rang. And then we saw what I thought was a great tag team match with 4 very, very talented women, and some great storytelling here as well. Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade, kind of cutting the ring in half at one point, keeping one of them away from the other. I think it was, without going back and reading my report, I want to say they were keeping Giulia away from Kelani Jordan, and Jordan was the one to make the hot tag, I think. But yeah, like I said, a lot of good storytelling and things like that here in the match. I really like the fact that they're utilizing not just Cora Jade, but Kelani Jordan in this feud as well. I feel like it's kind of, I mean, not that I feel like Roxanne Perez and Giulia needs to be elevated by any stretch of the imagination, but there's so many different women in NXT right now. Not everybody can be involved in a title story, a title match. There's only so many women's titles. But even, that putting that aside, only so many women can be, in those feuds. So to have other women kind of in the periphery of this main event feud, this is pretty good. I'd like the way that they're presenting this. All right. I'm going to stop talking here because I noticed I have somebody that just joined. We've got Steve Repsher here. I'm going to bring Steve on. And Steve, thanks for coming on and saying hi.
Hey Nate, how you doing? Doing so far
Not too bad.
solo? Good so far?
All right. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. What brings you in tonight?
Oh, a little bit of a empathetic. We can't let Nate go solo for an hour. You need to let the dog out.
I appreciate it. That's true.
No,
That's
but
true. And you know what? Now he's actually standing at the door. So let me go do that. But
okay,
thankfully I have a wireless
we will
headset.
fill
So
for
there we
time
go.
here as Nate walks to the back of his
My
virtual
spaceship.
spaceship.
Yes.
And send him out the airlock, right?
Yes. Send him out the airlock. Let him pee out in space, and we'll bring him back in momentarily.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So what did you think of the show? And I mean, or the women's match in particular, since that's what we were just talking about.
I thought I was interested to see how the fallout would come from deadline, and have not gotten around to hearing you and Kelly do the roundtable from the PLE, but
Yes.
I did notice. First of all, you probably mentioned it on Saturday that I think we're in a little bit of a face heavy time in NXT because faces won all the matches on Saturday night. The women's Iron Survivor match was 5 faces, 5 baby faces,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of threw me off a week ago in that last in the 4-way second chance match. I thought for sure either Jada Parker or who is the other heel in the match? I said they've got to throw a heel in this match, don't they?
I'm trying to remember. Was it a heel? Yeah, I was trying to remember who the other heel was. That happened so long ago. It was only a week ago. But yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. Don't remember off the top of my head.
But so
Cora. It was Cora.
Starting to wonder whether or not
Ryan.
It was Cora. Okay. I'm starting to wonder that it seemed like they finally now have 2 very strong, no offense to who was the guy who just Ridge Holland or anybody else, but they've got 2 strong challengers coming up on that New Year's Evil show, and it's very conceivable that one, if not both, titles change hands, because I think, aren't we looking at both Trick and Roxanne being ready for the call up?
I mean, it seems like it's ready, but I mean, we've also, months ago, I remember talking about both of them seeming like they were ready. So
right.
I don't know. I mean, if they were to be plucked up to the main roster tomorrow, they'd flourish. They would be totally fine. But I think it might be time for a bit of a shakeup. Like, not that I want to see Trick Williams and or Roxanne Perez leave NXT. I selfishly want them to stay. But Trick. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily time. As I'm talking here, we're also coming up to stand and deliver season. So, I think that maybe partly why we saw some face heavy matches here, just to kind of progress some of these stories that are going to wind up going to stand and deliver. Because I'm wondering if we wind up seeing, Ethan Page back in the NXT title scene, or Ridge Holland back in the title scene, and then obviously now we've got Eddy Thorpe. So like they could even build it to like a fatal 4-way or something like that.
I can see that.
Yeah, something along those lines. Just quick thinking off the top of my head.
Right.
But
Speaking of stand and deliver,
yes,
I've heard that the cost might be too prohibitive, but being in Vegas, I thought, how cool would it be for NXT on that Saturday afternoon to run the Sphere
oh
in
god, that
Vegas?
would be so cool. That would be amazing. I don't know.
I
I
heard
don't know.
though that when UFC played there, they had some very costly technical what you want looking for?
Yeah, technical issues. I think I heard
Not
something like that
necessarily
too.
issues, but things they had to do to pull that thing off because
Oh, okay.
it's not your
It's so
traditional
unique.
arena. You know.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure the costs of doing something like that would be big. I don't think. I mean, it would be really, really cool to see NXT do something like that, and for them to try and promote the NXT brand with something like the Sphere. I mean, especially just the branding that they could do during the NXT show proper,
Right.
outside of the Sphere and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they would, and I hate to use the words, I don't know if they would waste that on NXT, but I feel
Right.
like that would be something
That's
that they would probably use for the main roster.
right.
Yeah,
But it would
but
also involve. It would also probably involve a third full show setup because you got to think Raw and SmackDown of that weekend are going to be at the probably
yeah,
T-Mobile where the hockey team
yeah,
plays.
something, yeah, something like that.
But
That would make sense.
going back to I get off on tangents like that.
So do I.
Uh,
That's fine.
um, back to Saturday real fast. They've come up with this thing that the transfer window and how wrestlers are going to go back and forth between all three brands, and I think they put that out there. It put me off on the wrong thought because I was thinking somebody from one of the from Raw or SmackDown would be the fifth person in the Iron Survivor. I was trying to come up with a name and I was not thinking Obafemi at all. But as soon as he came out, I said, "Oh, he's winning."
Oh yeah, yeah. The like the second it happened, and I think it was last week. Kevin Catani joined me on the show, and Kevin and I were talking about. Kevin called it. Kevin said, "I think it's Obafemi that's going to be the fifth one," and I as soon as he said it, I went, "Oh, you're absolutely right. It's going to be Obafemi," and sure
Mhm.
enough, so it was, and you know that's the direction they went. Um, I didn't really think about the transfer window because I don't think we're not there yet. Um, so I mean, I guess they could have. I mean, they could have told some story or something to
Yeah,
make that work. Um, I don't know
I
who I
have a
would.
feeling it's all setting up for January when
Oh yeah,
we still don't know the details of what's going to happen with Netflix.
that's
You know
true.
how long the
You
show is
know,
going to be and who they might want WWE to. They start looking at the menu and say we want this one and that one and this one and
yeah, and you know, and another thing too, you know, is and I didn't think about it till I heard somebody say it the other day. I forget where, but you know, how are the shows going to be formatted? I mean, right now you always have spots that build up to commercial breaks. Are they going to have commercial breaks? What are the commercials going to be for? I don't want commercials on my Netflix. Uh, I don't
no,
know. You
I
know,
don't think does does Netflix
they have
have a
the
commercial tier and then a no ad
they
tier like
they
Peacock
do,
does
yeah.
and everybody.
And yeah, and they do. So, you know, I'm wondering like how ads are going to work.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I watch commercials when I watch NXT. I go out of my way to avoid commercials and ads and things like that. So yeah, I really only watch commercials during like NXT or Raw, SmackDown or
Mhm.
something. But um, so, okay, Umaru in the chat, I think they've confirmed there will be commercial breaks for Raw on Netflix. I remember seeing that too, but I don't know if I can't, I don't know. Well, no, and I remember whatever it was that I was reading, they didn't mention if they were going to be like commercial ads, like from outside the company, or if it was going to be like WWE ads or sponsor ads or things
Promos.
like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So. but yeah, I mean, a lot of things are changing leading up to Netflix. The transfer window is certainly one of the reasons, or one of the things leading up to it.
We're just
No, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, it just had me totally wrapped into trying to figure out it was going to be a Raw or a SmackDown person coming in as the fifth one. But I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Do you think, regardless of whether Trick is going to get called up, does Obafemi look like he's ready? He's always ready. He could be champion tomorrow. Ready. And he talked today in his promo, "You were only champion because I allowed it to be."
Exactly. That was, I don't know if Kelly got the chance.
I allowed it.
I don't know if Kelly got the chance to watch tonight. I don't think so. But I think when he spoke those words, Kelly just knew something awesome was happening. Because that was such a great promo outing for Obafemi. Those words in particular, I allowed it to happen. I allowed the Trick at Williams era, or whoop that Trick era to happen. I thought absolutely beautiful. He may have lost his NXT North American title. Doesn't matter. He's still the man. Everybody takes him seriously. I'm kind of glad they kept him off TV for a little while, so you can kind of forget about that title loss. But to answer the question though, absolutely. If he gets, he's just like Trick Williams and Roxanne Perez. If he got plucked out of NXT tomorrow and we started seeing vignettes for him on Raw or SmackDown, 100% he's ready. The swagger that he had tonight, just coming out. I mean, he's always got that swagger. He kind of moves with the beat of his music. I mean, you can just tell he believes that character. He believes in himself, and what he can do. He's a unique talent, and the sky is the limit for him once he hits the main roster.
And it didn't take long at all.
No,
wasn't he?
No, it didn't.
Did he win the breakout? Yeah, he did, didn't he? He won the breakout and cashed.
He won the breakout tournament, and then almost immediate. Well, it was a couple weeks. I think he had it or something.
For the North American.
Yeah, then cashed it in for the North American title, which I don't know why. I forget why. I think we were trying to figure that out, and we wouldn't. I don't know if we came up with a reason, but anyway, but yeah, cashed in for North American, and then longest reigning North American champion.
Okay, well, I'm running out of.
All right, sounds good.
I don't have any. I don't take notes. I just was.
No worries.
Off the top of my head.
I appreciate you jumping in and saying hi.
And real fast.
Yes.
One other thing. Is it Fatal Influence? Do you see anything going for them? I'm not. I need to be sold on them. Other than Fallon, the other two just don't do it for me. Jacy didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
And Toxic Attraction either.
No, I agree. I mean, so Jazmyn Nix. I mean, she's still. I mean, I don't know. She's been around for a little bit, and she's being promoted as a veteran alongside these other two in this stable. But I don't know. If you put her in a lineup of like 5 women and said point out Jazmyn Nix, I don't know if I'd be able to point her out. I don't think she's really had her moment to shine yet. So yeah, she's absolutely like the kind of the Janetti of the group, kind of lower on the totem pole for the group. Jacy, it's weird because I see something there for Jacy, and obviously the company sees something there for Jacy, but there's something's just not connecting with her and the audience, I don't think. I know kind of, Kelly was feeling the same way. I want to say Kevin Catani has kind of said something like that in the past as well, if I'm not mistaken. She just doesn't connect with the audience. She's an okay wrestler, and I think she's got an okay gimmick, but there's just something missing. that kind of gets her to resonate with everybody else. I think, I think that they were trying to replicate the success that they had with Toxic Attraction with Fatal Influence. Wow, I actually said Fatal Influence first time, didn't say Fatal Attraction. Proud of myself. But yeah, I think that's definitely what they're doing there. They don't. But sorry, go ahead.
They're with I'm gonna stumble over myself. With Fatal Influence, Jacy is more in the lead role.
Yes.
Of the three, whereas she was definitely a notch below Mandy Rose in Toxic Attraction.
Yes. No, 100%. First, hi, Brian.
Yes, Brian. Hello.
But no, 100%. Mandy Rose was, she was the ringleader there. Jacy, it's like Jacy Jayne and Fallon Henley. I think Jacy Jayne's the kind of ringleader, but I mean, Fallon Henley, obviously she's the North American champion right now. So, sometimes she kind of has that role. So they kind of go back and forth a little bit there, but Jazmyn Nix doesn't. She's always the sidekick. So, we'll see what happens with her, but, what I was going to say a minute ago, the company obviously doesn't have the same confidence in them that they did with Toxic Attraction. I mean, Toxic Attraction constantly main event. They had the women's champion in it. They were always on TV, whereas Fatal Influence, like they don't get as much TV time. They're not in. I mean, obviously, they main evented tonight, but how often do you see somebody in Fatal Influence main event? And I guess I'd have to think about it, but it doesn't feel like super often, at least compared to Fatal Attraction.
And who are they heating up, if anybody, to challenge Fallon for the North American title?
Yeah,
I couldn't point him out.
No, well, I'm wondering if we're going to see like Zarya maybe challenge. Maybe, maybe Shotzi now that she's back. We haven't actually talked about that yet, but yeah, I mean, maybe Shotzi now that she's back. Zarya for me stands out, because obviously she kind of came in at the same time Giulia and Stephanie came in. They're doing something in the main event title scene right now, and Zarya, she's also a really, really phenomenal talent. She's got a very interesting gimmick, something that I think people will latch onto. So yeah, I remember saying, I said this last week. I think she might be next in line for it. I don't know how we get there, and maybe she may not be the next challenger for it, but I think we might see that belt around Zarya's waist before later.
And they got it. They have her in a tag match next week with Sol Ruca against is it Lash and is it Metaphor?
And yeah, the Meta Girls there.
And Takara.
And I misspoke. Thank you, Ryan. Giulia and Jordan and Roxanne and Cora main evented tonight. It wasn't Fatal Attraction. I said that a minute ago, and I definitely was wrong.
Right by me.
No. Yeah, like I said it without even thinking. I see Ryan said it in the chat, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm an idiot. But yeah, no, Steve, I appreciate you jumping in.
Okay, and I saw one thing today that next Tuesday, the one in Lowell, is the last live NXT of the year, because the next two after that are Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and they're both going to be recorded.
Oh, okay, that might make my night interesting. If they're going to be did you see that they're going to be recorded in Lowell?
I'm being serious. I think the 17th, next Tuesday, might be a double taping.
Okay, all right. Because the plan.
Because I remember
the plan will. The plan was for me to leave the show. Twice. I know, right? Well, the plan was for me to leave the show after NXT gets off the air, and then jump in to do the podcast.
Do this, right?
Yeah, I was gonna, and I was basically just gonna do this from the car. And Kelly was gonna have to figure out. He's gonna have to figure out how to do all the technical stuff without me, and that's going to be hilarious. Um, but uh, but yeah, I don't know. I'll have to talk to Kelly and figure that one out. But so we'll see what happens next week. But
'Cause I do know they said that they're taping the 31st show on the 19th.
okay,
It might be
all right.
a double.
Yeah, it might be a double taping. I'll have to look
You
into
know,
that.
things happen in
Yeah,
Lowell, Massachusetts when it comes to NXT.
damn right they do.
Because isn't
Damn
that
right they
where
do. And I was
Beat Finn Balor at a house show for the title?
about
You were there
20
for that,
feet
weren't
away
you?
from it. I was. Yep. Back
Mhm.
I got the poster for it right there. April 21st, 2016. Um but like I said earlier, it's a very historic building, not just for NXT but for wrestling in general.
Yeah.
For Samoa Joe too. He also, I think he won the Ring of Honor championship in that building too.
They played
Um
there. New Japan's played there.
yep. Yep.
They all
It's
did.
I've seen a few indie shows there. A
Mhm.
couple, I think it was a couple Shikara shows, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but anyway, all right,
Okay.
Steve,
I will
we'll catch you later. Appreciate it.
take my leave and enjoyed it.
All
Give you
right,
a
as
little
always.
give you some conversation.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Good night.
Whoop! I cut him off. He was saying good night, but he was saying good night. Okay, now, I don't remember what we haven't talked about yet. So I'm going to keep moving back here through my notes. Ethan Page. Ethan Page versus Tony D'Angelo with the family for the North American Championship. We saw Tony D'Angelo retain his title in approximately 9 minutes here. Ethan Page comes into the match tonight and he's super dejected. We saw him lose at deadline and in the Iron Survivor Challenge, and after he was so pumped up saying he was going to win it, and by God, he didn't. And when he didn't, he was kind of like questioning himself. We saw, and actually, this is one of the things. Kind of, I don't know if it didn't open the show, but it was very early on in the show. They played this segment from Deadline where we saw Ethan Page getting interviewed in the parking lot and saying that we're not sure, or he's not sure if he has it anymore, and if he can continue on. And be a wrestler. We saw that we actually saw that exact same clip, like I said, be played again tonight. It turned out that the wrestlers, a lot of the male wrestlers, were in the locker room. Although that locker room had an elevator in it, I don't think they were in a locker room. I think they were in a hallway pretending it was a locker room. But that's just me. Anyway, but they were in the locker room. A lot of the men watching watching that segment on the TV. In that segment, let me actually find my notes about it because I forget who walked in the. Oh, it was Tony D'Angelo, because that's right. We're about to talk about that match. Tony D'Angelo and the family walk into the room and walk up to Ethan Page, who was off camera, but he was in the room as that segment was playing on a screen not that far away from him. He was sitting on a couch kind of in the corner, like a little dejected and down, and you could see that there was, on his face, his body language, he was kind of slouched over and whatever. He's not too happy with himself after the loss. Quite frankly, I'm surprised he even showed up to work. I didn't think he was going to be there tonight, and they were going to play that off a little bit more, but he showed up. And Tony D basically kind of took some pity on him and said, you know what, let me give you a North American title shot and see if that'll cheer you up, basically. And in a way, it was kind of a little bit of a jab at him because he's like, you lost a match, boo hoo, everybody loses, things like that. He didn't say that, but that was kind of the vibe. And he being Ethan Page winds up turning it down and says, no, don't want it, don't want the match. This match is beneath me. I was the NXT champion. You're the North American champion, and I should be fighting for basically elevated titles. I forget exactly how he worded it, but he basically put the North American title and the North American champion down pretty hard there. So Tony D was like, all right, fine. Who wants a title shot? Open to anybody in the room. And of course, everybody else in the room stands up, kind of swarms Tony D. like looking, trying to get his attention and trying to get a title shot. When Ethan Page kind of stands up, because I think he sat back. Yeah, I think he sat back down on the couch. He stands up and was like, "Okay, whoa, no, you know what? I want the match after all. If I was the NXT, or where I was the NXT champion, I should have no problem beating you, a lower champion, blah blah blah. Let's make the match happen." So that's how we got here to this match. Like I said, Tony D'Angelo versus Ethan Page. I thought this was a really good match, and there was a lot of good storytelling in this, as we saw in every match tonight. I think we had a really good showing with our wrestling and our storytelling here tonight. But they like I said, a very cool story. I mean, we saw Tony D'Angelo was. It's weird to say this, but Tony D'Angelo was basically playing Goliath, and Ethan Page playing David here. Even though, I mean, Ethan Page is a lot smaller than D'Angelo and stuff. It's not really the analogy that I would really go to normally, but that was kind of almost what this was. Ethan trying to fight from underneath to, to win and overcome Tony D'Angelo here. And Tony basically just kind of had his number here at just about every turn. I just stabbed myself with some tweezers. That hurt, and I'm bleeding, but I'll deal with that later. Anyway, Tony D'Angelo, like I said, he kind of had everything, had an answer for just about everything Ethan Page wound up throwing at him. And like I said, looked really good here. There's something that I wanted to say about this match. I'm trying to find it in my notes. But I can't find it. So I'll think about it. And if I remember it, I will come back to it. Let's keep moving on here. Gigi Dolan, Tatum Paxley versus Jacy, Jayne, Jazmyn, Nyx. I'm going to kind of I guess I'm really going to gloss over this. We kind of talked a little bit about, I talked about this with Steve, but Jacy, Jayne, Jazmyn, Nyx went over 3 minutes, 30 seconds. The match finish was I don't know, probably my least favorite thing about the match. We saw, because obviously Fallon Henley being the third person down there for Fatal Influence. There, I did it. I knew I was going to do it. I did it. She's out there kind of outnumbering. Oh, actually, no. You know what? There is something to talk about here that we haven't talked about yet. So here we go. Before the match actually took place, we saw Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley walking backstage. Gigi and Tatum, they were talking about how they were kind of outnumbered, considering we have 3 in Fatal Influence and they're only 2. Tatum's like, "Don't worry, I called a friend." And they didn't really touch on it any more than that, because we then saw Shawn Spears, Nico Vance, and Brooks Jensen walk up. Oh, actually, right before that, we saw before they showed up, Izzy Dame shows up, and she rushes Gigi Dolan, basically looking to finish what they started last week, when what they started was basically a squash match, because Gigi Dolan had just returned, and Izzy Dame is who you squash when you come back. So that's how that match happened. But Izzy Dame, came out looking for like some retribution or whatever. Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley, they did not look intimidated or anything like that, but we still saw Shawn Spears, Brooks Jensen, and Nico Vance show up and be like, "Hey, maybe you should leave them alone." I forget what they said exactly, but looking to come in and save Gigi Dolan and their whatever interests that they have in Gigi Dolan or Tatum Paxley, because they're still not 100% sure, but I think it is Gigi Dolan that they're alluding to. Whatever their interest is in either one of them. So that was all we saw of Shawn Spears and his crew tonight. But again, that led into this match here. The finish of this match wound up seeing Tatum Paxley go up to the top rope and get pushed off by Fallon Henley behind the referee's back. She managed to make that happen while the ref was being distracted by something else going on, which allowed which, like I said, so Paxley falls to the mat, allowing Jacy Jayne to roll Paxley up for the win in, like I said, about 3 minutes, 30 seconds, give or take. Then after that, Fatal Influence attacked Gigi Dolan and Jazmyn Nyx. And they're outnumbered, so they're getting they're getting their butts handed to them when all of a sudden Shotzi's music hits and Shotzi comes out to make the save. And now it apparently looks like Shotzi, Gigi, and Tatum Paxley are a group. And as Brock Benningfield said in our YouTube chat, Shotzi, Gigi, and Paxley make a nice group. And I 1000% agree. I didn't think this is something I wanted to see until I saw it. And now I'm like, I want to see more. Because there are a lot of similar feelings that I have with Shotzi that I do with Gigi Dolan. I think they both have an amazing look. They don't look like any, well, I guess Gigi maybe looks a little bit like Becky Lynch with the orange hair, but Becky's technically not on the roster right now, so I guess she can get away with it. Although when Becky was in NXT for her second run, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, however long that was, it was a little weird, but whatever. But still, they both have a unique look. They've got a great gimmick, but there's still something that doesn't connect with the audience. With both, Shotzi has it more than Gigi Dolan does, but there's still something with Shotzi that I don't think connects with everybody, myself included. I love Shotzi, like the wrestler and the human being, but sometimes she doesn't connect with me the way that I feel like she should. She looks like a lot of the people I hang out with, and the group of people that I let in my life. So it's like I should gravitate towards her more, but there's still something there that again, like I said, kind of makes it so it doesn't, her gimmick doesn't completely resonate with me. Same thing with Gigi Dolan and Jacy Jayne for that matter. We were talking about that a little bit earlier, but and Tatum Paxley, however, has it. She's still new enough, but she's got that where she understands her character. She can tweak her body language enough. She's a good enough actress to really, at least me anyway, make me really invested in this creepy character with these dolls and things like that. So I'm really interested in what's going on with Tatum Paxley. But that said, Shotzi, Gigi, and Paxley, I think that might wind up being what Gigi and Shotzi need to maybe make them, I guess, I'm going to say more palatable, for lack of a better word, because I don't want there to be silence while I'm trying to think of a word. But I guess more palatable to some people, and make them resonate with people more than they currently have. So I really like that group. It's a shame that it didn't happen for Halloween Havoc, because that they could have done some fun stuff there. But obviously Gigi hadn't returned yet. She was just in the videos for the opening for Halloween Havoc, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, she was. So anyway, let's keep going. That's what I was literally just talking about. We saw let's keep going. The next match, second match of the night, saw Hank and Tank versus Tyson and Tyriek. Hank and Tank went over 6 minutes approximately or so. I again really enjoyed this match. Hard-hitting, fast-paced tag team match that was just fun. So I really like Hank and Tank. There's something about this gimmick that it's just fun. They remind me of Heavy Machinery in a way, with kind of some of their weird, silly antics. Not necessarily as weird and over the top as like Otis was and stuff. They're both funny, and there's not like one funny and one straight man. They both got something really cool going for them. But like I always compare them in my head to Heavy Machinery. And they're right now, like they've just organically started to take off. Obviously they're getting some more TV time, but they maximize their minutes. You hear Cody Rhodes talk about it all the time, and I forget who he got that from, but I remember Cody Rhodes saying it, maximize your minutes when you're on screen. They do that. They do things that make you remember them. Maybe you might not remember it like later on in the night, but the next time you see them, you go, oh yeah, the last time I saw them, they did this and it was hilarious or whatever. They've really built a bit of a cult following, I feel like. And I don't know what the ceiling is for them, especially with this gimmick. It feels kind of almost Job Squad. I don't think I was going to talk about the Job Squad tonight, but almost kind of Job Squad-y, like on that level or whatever, kind of. So again, I don't know what the ceiling is for them, but man, I think they should have like at least one token NXT title run because that would just be a lot of fun. Maybe not win it from Axiom and Nathan Frazier, but man, if they were to hold that title for like a month or two, like as much as I hate to see short little reigns like that, I would totally be fine with it. I'd totally be fine with that. So yeah, this match, like I said, it kind of came about after the Battle Royal last week. Both Hank and Tank eliminated both Tyson and Tyriek. And one of it was Tyson, I believe, after getting eliminated, shook their hand and said that oh, I gotta make that go away. Shook their hand and was all, kind of like, up, you were the better man or whatever. But when Tyriek got eliminated, Tyriek was a little bit upset about it, not super happy. In this match tonight, very similar. Hank and Tank go over in, like I said, really good match with two up and coming tag teams. And I didn't really talk much about Tyson and Tyriek, but like, I don't know a whole lot about them, to be completely honest with you, but man, I really like what I see. I think these guys, I mean, I don't want to like make any sort of lofty comparisons or anything quite yet, but again, maybe kind of remind me of the Street Profits or something along those lines with what they're doing. But I want to see some more of them on NXT TV. That they've definitely improved from the last few times I've seen them, and even then I was still impressed with what I saw. Maybe I just got to see them for longer tonight, but regardless, after the match, Hank and Tank extended their hands in a show of congratulations, or not congratulations, in a show of showmanship, since they were the victors. And, it's just kind of cool to be like, hey, you did a good job. They put their hands out to shake. Tyson was going to shake their hand, and I think maybe even did shake their hand. Tyriek pulled away, walked out of the ring and started walking in the back with Tyson kind of following him, going, hey, what's the deal? So some dissension in the ranks there with Tyson and Tyriek, which is interesting because yes, they've been together for a while and they've been a tag team for a while, but they haven't really had much TV time. So I still think of them as like a fledgling tag team. Even though there's obviously some history there, but they're just starting to get some momentum. So I'm interested, like, I don't know what the story is going to do for them if they get split up, or why they would put them together and then split them up to make them singles or something like that. I don't know. Interesting storyline. Not sure where they're going with it. Don't love it. Don't hate it. It exists. But give me more Hank and Tank. Brock Benningfield also says Hank and Tank stock continues to rise with them as well. Okay. First match, opening match of the night was Javon Evans versus Wes Lee. And yes, this was frenetic and as energetic as you think it is when you hear Wes Lee versus Javon Evans. Literally, from the get-go, the match just was explosive. The bell rang, the two of them rushed each other and just went, not quite Sami Zayn and KO punches, but very, very similar to that. And it just kind of took off from there. At one point, Wes Lee did get control and kind of slowed things down with some holds and did the heel thing, kind of slowing the match down a bit when the crowd wants that match to be a little bit more fast-paced, more frenetic. But certainly still entertaining and whatnot. Seeing Wes Lee in this heel role is great. I love the haircut because it kind of not that like you can't have two wrestlers with a similar haircut, but I mean, Javon Evans had a very similar hairstyle to Wes Lee. So it's kind of nice to just see that differentiation between the two to make it easier, but for some people to keep track and whatnot. Like there's so many blonde women on the show, I never can remember who's who. So there's that, but also, with the change with the hair, it kind of gives him a little bit more of a sinister look. So I really like that bit of a character change with Wesley. But he also, in the course of this match, he kind of played it up and, really played into that heel persona a bit more. There was something that I wanted to point out in particular with this that I remember thinking to myself, "Don't forget it," and I forgot it. So yeah, I'll think about it and go from there. But yeah, again, this 13 minutes, Javon Evans goes over, and Wesley after the match was not happy, snarling and kind of leaning. I think it was leaning like on the second rope, if I'm not mistaken, kind of glaring at the camera, snarling, upset. So I don't think this is the last we're going to see of Javon Evans and Wesley. And quite frankly, I'm very glad that I can say that, because this match was a treat to watch. Probably my match of the night. Probably my match of the night. So with that, let me double check the mailbag. Oops, I closed the mailbag. Let me do. All right, cool. Mailbag is good. Let's go on here. So we had some segments we haven't talked about. Obafemi. We talked a little bit about Obafemi. Obafemi came out, made his entrance after a commercial break. He grabs a mic, says, "Surprise, the ruler's back." He celebrates his win and starts shifting his focus to Trick Williams and the NXT title. He basically said that, he grabbed into the mic, says that he knows they've both been dominant in their respective title reigns, but they've never actually crossed paths. And Obafemi was like, "Once we do, I'm gonna kill you." He didn't say that because I don't think he can actually say that on TV, but that was implied. That was implied. Trick Williams makes his way out to the ring, and grabs a mic and just kind of stares Obafemi down. Trick starts to say a couple things, and he barely, I don't even think he gets half a sentence out before Eddy Thorpe's music hit. Eddy comes out into the ring. Obviously, we talked about Eddy Thorpe and the twist later on in the night. So this is before we knew that Eddy was the one that attacked Eddy. But Eddy Thorpe makes his way to the ring, and he's like, "I'm sick of being left behind. I'm sick of nobody paying attention to me. Blah blah blah. Whine, whine, whine. Feel sorry for me. Feel sorry for me." And that was what happened. So we kind of get through that. And crap, I lost my place. But yeah, so Trick Williams, so Eddy Thorpe comes out, says all of that stuff. Obafemi basically cuts him off. "You're done. Stop talking. Nobody wants to hear you." Essentially, kind of the vibe and the words that he puts out there. And then he turns back to Trick, and he continues talking with Trick about their upcoming match. When Trick starts speaking, he just completely ignores Eddy Thorpe altogether, doesn't even mention that he's in the ring, just goes right back to Obafemi talking about their upcoming match. So he and Obafemi finish up their little discussion. I'm gonna win, you're gonna lose, you're gonna, one of those. Nothing really super spectacular there. After that, though, Eddy Thorpe basically grabs the mic again, calls Trick out and says, "Look, why didn't you stand up for yourself? Why didn't you stand up for me? You're the champion. You're very quiet there." And kind of, called Trick out, and for being kind of a weak champion. And that's when, Trick Williams was like, "All right, well, you think you can win this title from me? Go for it. Try it. See if you can do it." And well, the match was booked for next week at NXT Lowell, so we'll see if that can happen. Then so that was all. That kind of was all what happened during that segment there. I'm so looking forward to Obafemi and his reign of terror, whether it be with the NXT Championship, whether it be getting called up to the main roster. I don't know if anybody's really talked about this. Obafemi, even Gunther, for the world heavyweight title. Just sign me up. I want to see that right now. excuse me. I think there's just so many things he could do up on the main roster, so many matches that he could have. And I really want to see what the evolution of the Obafemi character is going to be. I think there is a little bit of a ceiling on a character like what he has right now. I think obviously he could take this character, ride it for a year or two, and be this monster and really hard to beat and things. But I think after a while, I hate to say it, they might get old. So they're gonna obviously have to reinvent the character and things like that, as you do with any character, really. And I'm really curious to see how this journey is going to flesh out, because he's just, again, all the talent in the world as far as I'm concerned with Obafemi. Like Kelly always says, coolest guy in the room. Let's see. Let me keep scrolling through my notes here. What else haven't I hit? We saw Lexis King backstage talking to a really tall man. Eventually, they say that it's Ryan Leaf from the NFL. I don't know who that is. I don't watch sports balls. I only watch the fake sports like wrestling. I don't watch real sports. So I had no idea who this guy was. It could have been a janitor as far as I'm concerned. Ryan Leaf's probably like the Mickey Mantle of the NFL, and I sound like an asshole. I don't really know, but anyway, Ryan Leaf was giving him some advice and a bit of a pep talk about everything that's going on. Charlie Dempsey walks into frame and ends up granting him his request for a Heritage Cup match coming up within the next couple of weeks, which was something we saw in a segment earlier in the night that I don't think I brought up, but now I did. We saw basically Lexis King asking for a title shot or a Heritage Cup shot, and Dempsey being like, "I'll think about it," and then that was him thinking about it. Let's see. I think we've hit everything that's important. So I'm going to say that is going to bring us to the end of my solo show here. Thank you for sticking it out, hanging out with me. Thanks to Steve for coming and hanging out for a little bit, talking, asking some questions, and making some conversation. Hopefully, Kelly will be back next week. Why? Because I don't know if I will be, because I'm going to be at the show. I'm really excited to go to not just another NXT taping. I've never been to an NXT TV taping. I've been to a couple NXT house shows before. Obviously, the one, actually, no, I take that back. I went to Battleground, so I guess it's a pay-per-view, but they've never been to a TV taping. I've been to a PLE taping. So looking forward to that, especially in that building. It's such a great place to watch wrestling. There is not a bad seat in the house. Granted, I will be sitting front row. I'm saying that again because I'm super excited about it. Very happy to be doing that. Like I said, my plan is, as long as they're not taping next week's episode afterwards, was to join Kelly here on the show afterwards, to give you guys an in-person perspective as I drive the half hour or so back to my house. But maybe that won't happen. I don't know. We're going to play it by ear. So we will see you next week. Take care.